you're new, my name's Annalisa. I am a knitter based in London, and I thought I would do just kind of like basically I got to the day before I'm going to travel, which is tomorrow, and I decided I need to film 2 videos. So that's probably going to add to my stress levels, given I've got like unraveling Christmas, basically de-Christmasifying my house, and then packing, getting the dog to the dog sitters, doing the usual like unnecessarily stressful things that happen the day before you travel. So I wanted to kind of do like a quick recap video on my works in progress, my knits that you've seen on the podcast previously. And then I was also gonna sit down and film my everything I knit video, because of course I'm not gonna have all of my stuff with me in California. And yeah, we're just gonna get on with it and do that. But basically, I'm just going to try and enjoy this and not stress out about it. I'm not a very good traveler. I think, given my lifestyle, it's a bit unfortunate, but I get motion sick. I find planes nobody finds planes comfortable, but just the whole experience, I get kind of anxious. But I do have a couple projects that are ready to go for the plane. So at least that part, I've got 10 hours of knitting time, basically, is how I'm seeing it, because I try not to fall asleep on the way there. I do try to fall asleep on the way back. But yes, I've rambled. This is just going to be a standard podcast episode, and hopefully a slightly shorter one, because I'm not going to talk about too much stuff. Most of it you've seen before. There's one new whip, and yeah, we'll get into it. I'm wearing a t-shirt because I wanted to try on one of my works in progress / almost finished object. It is almost finished. I'm counting it in my everything I knit video. But this is from the Crabea. It is a release of t-shirts she did. Well, she did one last year, and then she did one this year as well. And I love it. I actually wear it quite a lot. It's very comfortable. It's a really nice quality. Yeah, would recommend if you like a yarny t-shirt. But let's get into it. I hope you've all had like a lovely holiday period. I'm filming on the 30th, so it is kind of that weird in between period. And I'm hoping to get this up tonight. That feels ambitious, but we can be ambitious. All right, I'm going to talk about knitting. The first finished object is my husband's gift knit, which was his socks. This was a whip that I started last year, and then I knit one of these. I think I knit this one, because they're not the same size. And this is just the Cozy Toes pattern, which is a free pattern, and it has a number of different kind of like sock counts for different yarn weights. So I knit this in Drops Nepal, which I now know is a terrible choice for a pair of socks, but they're house socks. I had already knit one. I was like, it'll be fine. He'll be fine. So Drops Nepal is an Aran weight yarn. So when I went to like cast on the second one, I looked at how many stitches I had done in the cuff, and I had cast on 40 stitches. So this is a free pattern, so I don't think I'm giving anything away. I cast on 40 stitches, and I was looking at the pattern, and in the Aran size, that's like a medium, adult medium, which doesn't make any sense because my husband has big feet, and I would have assumed I'd make him a large. But then I was like, okay, so maybe it's maybe I knit it at the bulky gauge, which possible. And because the largest size was 40. And then I started on the bulky weight needle size and realized very quickly that like it was way bigger. It was not right. So I ripped that back. I think I had done the cuff, and I did the same number of rows as I had done on this one, and it was like twice the size. So I was like, okay, so I just did the Aran weight and I did it at 40, how weird. What I didn't kind of think about was the fact that when I knit these, I didn't have my interchangeable needle set, and that probably meant that I knit it on a 4mm instead of a 3.75, which is what the pattern calls for, because I probably didn't have a 3.75. So I knit the second one on 3.75. It's close enough. It's like, you can't really tell the difference. They're like, let's see if I can put you can when you hold them up, you can kind of see that they're like, there's a bit of difference. But once they're on the feet, nobody can see it. One of them is a little snug on him, but once they're on, they're fine. It's just kind of getting them over his foot that is problematic. But again, cozy house socks, very much his color. He loves color. He was happy with them. I'm happy to have had them out of my like whip pile that I completely forgot about. And yeah, so positive. My second whip is I'm counting this as finished object. It will be officially finished in the next podcast episode, but I don't think I'm going to end up filming that or releasing that until probably end of January, just because I want to do like planning videos, and I'm away for half of January, and yeah. So this is my Fifi cardigan, and I'm finished with all the knitting. I haven't blocked, so I did a midway block with most of one sleeve and the body, so without the button band and the collar and all that stuff. So there's a second block that needs to happen, and there is probably gonna end up redoing the collar, but I'll explain that. So let me just put it on real quick. The vision for this was very much like a jacket type cable cardigan. I probably shouldn't cover up my mic. And I will put some like try-on clips as well. But basically this is DK weight pattern. I knit this in a cone yarn, which is a Karyagi wool cashmere blend. I think it's 80% wool, 20% cashmere. It's this stunning color. It's sort of a mix of, just greens, and it's very like mossy and natural and beautiful. Super soft, very, just cozy and nice, and like, I would say it knits up to about, I would say that this is like a heavy DK, potentially even light worsted. So a little bit denser than the pattern. The pattern is more of like, a proper cardigan. So it's quite tight fitted. I wanted this to be more of a jacket. I made a lot of changes to it to kind of make it more of a jacket, including choosing the yarn that's slightly heavier. So if you can see that like pre and post blocking on this yarn is kind of amazing. It's a chainette yarn. I'll try and do this. You can almost see, like the one on the right is the post blocking. The one on the left is the pre-blocking. And it's just this super squidgy once it's blocked. It's stunning. What else can I say about this? So I made a ton of modifications. I knit quite a large size. I'll leave the size details because I kind of varied where I knit the yoke area and kind of this maybe a smaller size, but then expanded out a little bit. So it's wider. I have quite a bit of positive ease. The sleeves I completely redid. Okay, so let's I should write a list of all the things that I did with this. And I will do that when I have it as like a proper finished garment. I will do a whole list of like all the alterations that I did, modifications that I did, and explain them more clearly. But some of the things that I did, so one is that I kind of wanted to create more of like a seamed effect. So I did this sort of like back seam instead of, when I picked up for the shoulders, I kind of created a bit of a seam by doing one purl row, a lateral braid, and then a knit purl, knit purl, knit purl, and then another lateral braid, and then moved into the pattern for the kind of shoulders and coming across. And I love some of these details. I love the way that this kind of works. The Eevee pattern is like the actual stitch pattern of the cables is really fun and really easy. All right, I'm back. So the Eevee pattern, the like cable pattern itself, is really fun. It's really intuitive. It's really easy. If you're new to cables, I highly recommend it, just because of like when you cable being quite easy to remember, and that made it just so much fun to knit. I would absolutely knit another Eevee pattern. So she has a hat and a pullover, and I would 100% knit those again. Those in the future, not again. I would knit this again. I might knit this again. It was just such an enjoyable knit between the yarn and the pattern and some of the changes that I made, which kind of made it more fun for me because I was constantly thinking about like, oh, what if I did this or that? It just made it so much fun. So I did, one of the big changes I made is instead of reverse stockinette, I did seed stitch, and then I added things like I put a cable under here. This is purely for my own entertainment as I was knitting it. I did twisted rib, which is in the pattern for the cuff. I also added this little like seam detail to the bottom here. I did the double knit button band to pattern, so that's actually to pattern. Although I did it differently. I learned to do the double knit button band through Florence Miller's step-by-step cardigan, and she does a really good tutorial for doing a button band, and I follow that, and I did that, including like casting off with a bit of like a Kitchener's stitch type thing. And I did a tubular cast off on the hem and the cuffs, which I'm really happy with. I'm also really happy with how I like got the decreases to like line up. Sorry, I got the pattern to line up with the ribbing. So if you look at like, you can kind of see how it like flows in to the ribbing, which I love. That's the kind of stuff that like I absolutely love. So I really enjoyed this. This was an amazing knit, and I love that. I love having like sweaters that kind of tell a story of a time in the year. And for me, this was my fall winter. Like this was so many good memories, and just it being my ultimate comfort knit as I was going through the fall and the cozy period and Christmas and all of that. So I wanted to finish this year, at least the knitting part of it. And I'm happy I got here, even though I will probably redo the neck, the collar. So really happy with pretty much every aspect of this except for the collar. And the collar is my own fault, obviously. I decided to do a folded over collar, and I made two mistakes here. One is I didn't pick up enough stitches like right at the edge. So I might keep the collar. It will depend how it looks after blocking. So I'm waiting, I'm holding judgment until I block. But I didn't pick up like close enough to the edge, and I ended up having to do a lot of like post-production on this, which just looks a bit messy. Maybe you can't quite see it, but it is just a little messy, and I'm sure nobody will notice. It looks fine on the other side. But basically, yeah, I did a twisted rib, folded over collar. I went down a needle size for the collar. I did not go down a needle size for the other ribbing details, so the hem and the sleeves. Yeah. So, yeah, blocking, then I'll make the decision about the collar. I also didn't make the buttonhole big enough, which is probably actually why I'll end up pulling it back, to be honest, because I can't quite get the buttons through this hole. I can through all the other ones that I made. Speaking of buttons, I picked up some buttons from Loop in Islington, which is kind of my local yarn shop. I don't buy a lot of yarn from yarn shops because of how I usually end up buying kind of cone yarn or reclaiming yarn from cashmere jumpers and things like that. But I do try to spend money there when I can't, like when I need stuff. So like accessories or notions or tools or whatever it is. I did make an acquisition this time because I'd been lusting over some yarn for a really long time, and I decided to give myself a little Christmas present, which I'm really happy about because I've actually cast it onto something. I'll show you in a minute. So this is, we're like nearly there. I'm super excited to have this. I think there's already so many times when I kind of want to grab it and put it on, and we're just not there yet, but I didn't want to rush it. I really enjoyed every minute of knitting it, and yeah, big win for me on this one. I think I'll get loads of wear out of it. It's very much my color. It goes with everything, and yeah, happy days. All right, whips. So I'm going to talk about my Carta vest. I finished the first, like the front panel, and I blocked it just to like see how the stitch pattern kind of came out. So this is, so you knit it kind of from the like edge of the, I don't know what you call this. Basically, this should go like this on my body. So it'll go like that, and then this is like the shoulder, and at least I think that's how that works. We'll find out. And yeah, I love the stitch pattern. It makes me so happy. It's so beautiful. It looks even better after blocking, obviously. It's nice. The fabric is super like squishy, but also it's like it's got structure to it, which I think is needed for this pattern. I've put the stitches on hold here, which is what the pattern tells you to do, and I have cast on the other side. So that is one of my travel projects, which is kind of perfect because it is the perfect travel project. It's engaging. I don't know why I didn't think about it before. I hadn't read far enough in advance of the pattern to realize that I was going to be casting on a whole new side, and I didn't know if like carrying this whole thing around was going to be a good idea for travel. So I cast on, once I realized that actually I would just be casting on the next side, and that would basically be like starting the new project. I decided that would be a great travel project. So I've got it all ready to go in my little bag, and it's cast on. You do a I-cord cast on, and I've done a few rows getting it ready basically for the flight, and then I've got my little pattern with my little pen, and I just cross off the rows as I go through them. So I think it'll actually be lovely, engaging knit for the flight. I have another one, but just in case I get bored, but I think this will be perfect. And it's kind of, you do kind of, because you're kind of going in one direction and then you're going in the other one to create the herringbone pattern. It's sort of like stripes, but not quite. You don't have to change yarn. And yeah, really, really beautiful stitch pattern. Lovely color. This is a cashmere yarn from a jumper that I reclaimed it from, slightly felted, which gives it that like extra structure, but it's also still like quite light and fluffy and super soft. I'm really looking forward to having this. I think I realized, like, in my quest for a vest or a pullover, whatever it is, I realized that like this will be my like closed vest item for me to kind of test out how I wear it, because I think I'm not entirely sure how to wear like vests and slipovers. I don't currently wear them, so I think I'm going to do a simple slipover and then have this as my vest and see how I wear them, how I style them, what I might actually want in my wardrobe. So yeah, really excited to have this and I love it. That is my Carta vest, and yeah. I think I'm knitting size B. There's a bunch of different sizes. I think I'm knitting the second size in length, and I probably could have gone for the first size in length, but I think it'll be fine. I will not have enough yarn to do the back exclusively in this, so I have enough to do the front in this, both fronts, and then the back I'm gonna try and dye the gray yarn that I have, which is a cotton cashmere, but it's similar kind of variation and stuff. So I'm gonna try and dye that and get it somewhat close to this color. I don't know if I'll get it anywhere near this color, but I'm gonna try, and then I'll knit that in the back. And I haven't figured out how I'll kind of combine them. I think it's either I'll do like, maybe I'll do like one of the directions in one color and then the next direction in the other. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how I do that. Or I'll just do like the middle panel. I don't actually know how the pattern works out. I haven't read that far in advance. So I should probably do that first. So yeah, Carta vest. And then my next whip, I haven't done a ton of work on it, but is my Homestead sweater, or my variation on it. So this is a pattern that I am altering to kind of be more what I had in my head, which is this sort of like pastoral, watercolory landscape knit. And so at this point, it doesn't really look anything like the Homestead sweater, but I am still following. I basically printed out my size, so I'm knitting extra large. Might have been too large, but we'll see. And I'm knitting, yes, I'm knitting the extra large, and I'm doing, it's all intarsia. I'm doing this in brushed alpaca silk, drops brushed alpaca silk, except for a couple of colors which I got from other random brushed alpaca things. And I'm holding that triple, so I'm creating quite a lot of different colors. I'm going to stop rambling and just show you where I'm at. So this is where we're at. If you see I'll try and have you can see balls of yarn dropping. I have not put anything on bobbins. I've just been, because this yarn kind of clings to itself, it doesn't really need it. My plan here is like to do the front panel, learn the intarsia bits, figure out if this kind of can come out to what I want, and then go back in and do some embroidery to kind of give it more detail. And I think it will get there. I think I'm also like already planning out how I would do this differently if I was doing it over, and knowing what I know about intarsia, and I think I would just do it slightly differently. So that might be an option as well. I might get to the end of this and be like, actually, this isn't going to turn out how I want it, so maybe I just do a completely different design. I've been saving loads of images on Pinterest that could turn into great intarsia projects. But yeah, so if you look, I've got a number of different colors going on here. you'll notice pretty quickly that it looks different to the her version, the designer's version. And that's, again, because I've kind of drawn over it with other things. The sheep, for example, don't have the black on them, so I'll be adding that later. I also left out 2 of the sheep. I'm gonna add them later. There just wasn't enough stitches to make it worthwhile. The ducks, I need to add like some beaks and feet. I'm also gonna add things like reeds around the pond. And then if you see this sort of bit here, that kind of browny bit, so there's a tree in there somewhere. There's a tree trunk, and then I've gone for more of like a hedgerow than a gate, although I have a gate opening here. I'm gonna layer over some other colors and blend that a little bit more. I wanna add some flowers. Yeah, like there's so much you can do with this, and I think I'm gonna love it. It's a lot of thinking. It's a very different style of knitting, so I have to kind of like sit down, get all my yarn out. I've got so many colors going on. I also find it really interesting how when you blend colors, like it looks completely different to what you think it's going to be. Like this color, I think went a little too light. It'll be fine. Like I don't think it's the end of the world, but it's a sage green, a like peachy color, and then what is supposed to be like a pistachio green. And the pistachio green just ends up looking white in this. So yeah, it's weird things like that you're like, oh, okay, well that's not quite what I had in mind, but that's all right too. And then there's also the fact that like you're rolling up little balls, and then at some point the balls run out, and I've ended up changing the colors because I've been like, oh, we'll just do 2 strands of this color and 1 strand of that color instead of 3 strands of that color, and whatever the changes. So I'm enjoying it. Hopefully by the time I do another update, kind of probably end of Jan, I'll have a bit more of a picture to show you, and maybe even started, I don't know, we're getting too ambitious. Yeah, Homestead sweater, sort of. I do recommend, if you're starting an intarsia project like this, the drops brushed alpaca is it really hides quite a lot. Like there's definitely holes in here. You just can't really see them because it's fluffy, and I can go back and fix them when it's done. But yeah, it's definitely hiding a lot of things, especially with like the different colors and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's that one. And that is that. So my next whip is one I kind of cast on, really mostly inspired by the yarn. So I mentioned that I went to Loop, and I had been kind of lusting over this skein of yarn for like several months and being like, okay, I can't, like it's too much money, not gonna spend that on yarn. I don't need it. I have so much yarn in my stash. And then I was like, you know what, it makes you happy. It's like so beautiful. So I bought 1 skein of this Quinn Fibers, I don't know how to say it, but yarn, which is a brushed cashmere silk. And I'll put a picture of it in the skein because it was stunning. And the color that I chose, which I'm not going to remember the name of, actually maybe I've got it in here somewhere. Hover chalk. Yeah. I don't know what that means. But yeah, Quinn Fibers, this one. And it is 79% cashmere, 21% silk. And it's 300 meters for 25 grams. So I knew I was going to hold it with something. I had initially thought I was going to hold it with so a little bit of story time. So I picked up knitting about 12 years ago, I think it was. So I learned when I was a kid. I picked up knitting when I was about 12 years ago, and knit a bunch of hats. I don't know why I picked it up. I don't remember. I don't remember where I found a hat pattern. I don't remember why I stopped. I just know that like there was a period of time, like several months, where I just knit a ton of hats. And I had some yarn in my stash from that period. My only stash was like a few balls of very nice cashmere yarn that I was like, someday I'll pick up knitting again. And so I had like, I think some of them were gifts from my brother, and there were just single skeins. Actually, I have two skeins in one color, which is sort of like a pinky color. And then I had a red color, which I've used in a few different projects more as like filling in areas, but I still have a little bit of that left. And it's kind of this really nice sport weight. So it's like, it's not quite as much of like a fingering cashmere as I think most that you would buy now are. So yeah, I had that color, and then I had a black and purple, which is not my colors. And so I decided to experiment with that and try removing the color from that with those like color removers. But that was, I mean, massive experiment. I was ready for that to just like be gone, basically. And it worked. It actually worked, but it came out a bit darker. So it came out kind of like a beigey gray color. So I'll use that at some point. But I had in mind that I was going to use that with this yarn, and then I tried it and I was like, no, that doesn't work. But I completely forgot, have one skein of completely white yarn from the exact same kind of batch of yarns. And there was a couple other balls, which I'll talk about at some point when I use them, or some of them have actually been used. But I really like, I completely forgot that I had this full skein of like 200 meters, 50 gram skein of this yarn. So I decided to use my fluffy cashmere with a white ball of yarn. And so these are them together. So I've just wound them up. You can't really see. Let me get this out without ruining it. Little bit of a mess. So I'm just going to show you up close the like variegated ball. I don't knit with a lot of variegated yarns, so this was kind of a new experience to me. But it's very like unicorn, cotton candy, like so not colors I normally wear, but they just brought me so much joy that I decided I needed it in my life. So I started knitting the Eevee mittens by Woozy by Celine. I decided, because it was freezing cold over Christmas, that I needed a pair of mittens. And, it's gonna focus on me. I don't know if it's coming out as beautiful as it looks in real life, but they are looking beautiful. And it is very much like, it almost looks a little tie-dye-esque, but I think this stitch pattern, so the Evie mittens are a recent pattern that she's come out with, and they kind of do this little like star flower stitch pattern, which is beautiful. And once you knit it with, I tried knitting this with wooden needles originally because I was going to bring it on the plane. And so I was like, oh, I'll put them on wooden needles. But this stitch pattern definitely needed my Chaogu metal needles. And yeah, I'm knitting the second size, the kind of medium. I am knitting on magic loop. I will say that if you are thinking about knitting this pattern and you want to knit it on magic loop, that just make sure you have all your kind of like back of hand stitches on one and the front of hand on the other, which seems obvious, but I did not do that because I was trying to split them, and then I was like, wait, but the stitch pattern makes that very difficult. So it is working up nicely. I enjoy the pattern. I've knit her Sadie top, and I like her pattern writing, and I love this pattern, and I needed a pair of mittens because it was freezing cold over Christmas, and my poor little fingers I have a lot of fingerless mittens, like not ones that I've knit, but just commercial ones. And those are perfect for most of the year in London. And then every once in a while, it's just like, you need that extra little something to cover your fingers. So the other thing that I wanted to do, so I really want to knit the songbird mittens at some point. The songbird mittens, but they seem a little ambitious right now. And I know everybody's like, you just get into it and you'll be fine. But because there's one modification that I will need to make to the mittens, which is that I need to create an opening at the back of I would like to create an opening at the back of the hand and on the thumb. The reason for this is very specific to dog owners in a city, which is you need to be able to open a poo bag, which is probably way more information than you needed today. But you need the friction between your fingers to be able to do that. I realized this when I had a pair of like convertible mittens and couldn't get into a bag, which just makes things all kinds of uncomfortable. I don't care about my phone. I don't need to look at my phone. I need to open a poo bag. So I did, I think because the back of this is just stockinette, it'll be easier to figure that out, to create that opening and then like recast on and do all that stuff. Then it will be on the songbird mittens, but at least then by the time I get to the songbird mittens, I'll be able to figure out how I've done that and hopefully apply some of that. I have looked at other I know that everybody's knit the songbird mittens, and I have looked at others, but they are just like a little extra special. I don't know what it is about that motif. I realized at some point that if I was going to choose a different one, it would simply because I just wanted to be different, and I was like, that's not a good enough reason. Also, I've never seen anybody wearing them in real life, so it's not like I see enough knitters on a daily basis. But anyway, so that is my Eevee mittens. I am going to try and take these on the plane, which is a little bit risky with the metal needles. I think Heathrow is probably fine. I find the bigger airports are fine. It's usually the smaller airports that are a little more particular. But I'll take them off the cords, and if they take them away from me, they take them away from me. It'll be a sad day, but I can replace them if I need to. And I think that's it. So yeah, so I've got 2 projects to work on the plane. I've got my homestead to come home to and work on, as well as getting this blocked and putting the buttons on and doing all that stuff. I probably want to cast on a pair of socks at some point, and yeah, that's all I've got to say. So hopefully this was a little bit shorter. I'm trying to figure out how long I've been recording for, and I have no idea. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being here this whole year. Or not this whole year, I mean this whole period that I have been filming videos, which has basically been since September or October. Maybe I posted in October, but I actually filmed it in September. I have really enjoyed doing this. I've enjoyed talking about my knitting. I've enjoyed talking to you guys in the comments or on Instagram. It's made this whole thing feel a lot more special and just enjoyable, and yeah, I don't know, it's given it some direction, I guess. And I still need to get better at Instagram. I failed miserably at that one. I still need to update my Ravelry. I haven't done that for a very long time. I need to use Ravelry more as like a an engagement tool in terms of like showing my garments as I'm building them, but we'll see if that happens. That's on my like goals, my knitting goals for 2026. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'm gonna film my Everything I Knit video and probably not post that because I think that will take a little more editing than this one will. But I wish you all a happy new year. I hope that you are celebrating in style. I will be asleep at 8 o'clock because I'm gonna be, well, to be fair, I will be awake for London New Year's, but I will be in California at the time, so, or potentially in the sky. I haven't done the math on that. So I am, yeah, just wanted to wish you all a very happy new year, and I hope to see you. I will see you in 2026. I'll be back with a bunch of planning videos, and I want to do Make 9 and my winter, spring planning videos, and basically all the cliche YouTube videos for a knitting channel. I'm like, I want to do them all. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.